So, Ariel, I know that you've got a few personal experiences that you've applied since Gordon's episode.
I have.
I believe that you took a ballet class for the first time in how long?
I did. Like 1.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was very much inspired. It's funny, I've been like craving dance for the last, I would say probably 2 months, like where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need to do this thing. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And something about this conversation just made me go, if I don't start doing this now, it's going to be 100 times harder to do this when I'm 60.
Yeah.
Like he's speaking to that person in midlife, but like I don't want to be the person waiting till midlife to go
you don't
back
want to be
to
my
the
age.
thing that we're like a couple of years apart. Get out of here. But like, oh, I'm gonna wait till I'm 60 to look back at my pre-25-year-old self and try and recreate that. Like, why wouldn't I do those things that bring me joy now?
Yeah, I think that's been an important message with a few of our episodes, and Sheridan in particular.
Yeah,
she was talking about how important it is for females to be training at a younger age so that they benefit from it at a later age. What was it that Gordon said that stuck with you and managed to get you to sign up for the class?
I think it was just having that conversation reminded me the power and like gift that movement actually is.
Yeah.
And I know that and I reflect on that often, but to think back to the role that these different styles of movement play across your life and what they unlock in you in those different seasons. And then you get so far away from them. And I think I just realized, oh, I want to bring that closer. Like I want that feeling again. And sure enough, like 5 minutes into ballet class, I was like, oh, I feel like myself. Like it was this home.
It was an aha moment for me as well. It was one of those things where you think, oh my God, why didn't I think about that?
Yeah.
Like that idea of reflecting and drawing on a part of who you were, or the fact that at one point in time you did identify with being a person that plays or a person that moves in a certain way. Like I do a lot of thinking around, and I do a lot of listening with clients for, what identity language they're expressing. And I'm normally listening out for like fixed labels, things that they don't think that they can change, that they've accepted as a part of truth for themselves. And, trying to bring that awareness so that they can kind of reflect on it, or listening out for a language of emerging identities. But it was a real like, re-emerging or re-identifying with who we are.
You said something in that episode actually that I really, really loved. You were like, with your clients, you wouldn't lift the weight for them. So why are you doing the thinking for them in relation to the fact that we are so tempted as coaches to like, and as friends and partners and whatever roles we play in relationships, we'll ask a tough question, and the second it gets a little bit uncomfortable and the person isn't answering and we just want to get rid of that discomfort for them, we like jump in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the way that we define support is often providing solutions and not creating space. Something that helped me with that is recognizing that most of the time I'm just filling that silence for my own discomfort.
Yes.
The person's thinking. Like leave them to do the thinking. If they're quiet and you see silence as success, you're normally going to get a good response. And that's whether you're a PT on the gym floor or whether you're just trying to help your partner, move past something that they're stuck on.
Or win a negotiation. Did you read that book, Chris Voss's book?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, just ask the thing and shut up.
Use the silence, yeah.
It's like your most powerful negotiation tool. So, yeah, we need to get better at holding space and being quiet.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What for you stuck out in that episode? Anything?
I think Gunn did a fantastic job of explaining just how nuanced motivation is. I think a lot of people's frustration with it is because it feels like it's something that is a bit intangible, a bit hard to put your finger on. But recognizing that it's not as black and white as extrinsic and intrinsic. They're not just two sides of a coin. They're two opposite ends of a continuum. And there is a real process of internalizing something. What he said, the language he used is from controlled. So controlled motivation being things that sit outside of us. And then that process of internalizing the behavior to get to the point where it's more autonomous, or it's something that we've chosen for ourselves. We were discussing the example previously of how somebody might receive some news at the doctor that kind of scares them a bit and causes them to act, maybe join the gym. But initially they're acting out of, these internalized emotions caused by external events, things like fear or shame, or even guilt. And how important it is to move somebody. I mean, that can be very powerful to get somebody going.
Yeah, it's not wasted to utilize that type of motivation, but just don't get stuck there.
Yeah, because for what I've seen as well is people, as soon as you get far enough away from the thing that was causing you the pain,
oh my gosh,
it stops propelling you forward. So, a client comes in who's heavily overweight, they're at risk of, maybe they've been told that they've got diabetes now, or maybe they've had a heart scare, and they might come down from 140 to 120 kilos. And that's a big win. It's 120 kilos, and now they're not scared.
Yep.
And unless you're able to flip that motivation, help them start to look ahead and start to internalize those behaviors and start to relate to those behaviors, then, the motivation that was pushing them away from something starts to die off, and you really need to start thinking of something ahead that helps pull them forward. This idea of I'm becoming a healthy person, or at least I recognize that exercise is part of the person that I'd like to be.
Yes, and that last element on the continuum before you get to like full intrinsic is the identification with the thing. So as you just said, I'm a healthy person. That is, and that actually is just before, isn't it?
I think it's identified and then integrated.
Okay.
As in...
What's the...
yeah, because
so many layers.
on the extrinsic side, you have extrinsic.
Yeah.
Then which is pure, Gordon, I'm so sorry if I haven't got this spot on. Extrinsic, which is like your consequence and reward.
Yes.
So it's purely external. Your introjected is when you are starting to recognize those internal feelings that are created by external, influences, such as the doctors, the fear, the guilt, the shame, the boredom. And then your identified comes next, and that's when you start to recognize that the behavior has aspects of it that you identify with, such as I would like to be a healthy father.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a role model. And then integrated is when you start using statements like I am. Like I am a fit person. I am disciplined. It's become a part of how you see yourself. And that's moving towards autonomous motivation and away from controlled.
Right.
And then intrinsic is purely for the joy of it, which is actually really rare. And I thought that was an important message as well. Like intrinsic motivation is rare. Even people like us who grew up loving movement very rarely have sessions that are just because
purely intrinsic.
We want to move. There's a lot of pressure there to feel like you should be doing it, which again is that more introjected, more controlled.
Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful. That I am piece. Do you think that there is a lot of power in sort of, I guess, manifesting those things, proclaiming them, mantras over yourself before you actually get there?
I think we learn about ourselves by hearing ourselves talk. We learn about who we are and what we believe. And that's not just what we say out loud, it's what we say to ourselves as well.
Yeah.
I do think, though, that there has to be a grain of truth or belief in it in order for it to have that impact. But absolutely, even just tacking on words to something like I'm not a fit person yet.
Yeah.
Might,
that's good.
Be enough to move forward, or I'm becoming fitter.
I'm becoming. I love I'm becoming. Yeah, that's a really powerful one. Yeah, and I think the danger sometimes in just saying it without the actions that align with it is you start to sort of live in this cognitive dissonance where it's like, I'm saying one thing, but I'm doing another. And now I feel actually more confused and more not true to myself.
Yeah.
As a result.
We want to be careful we're not undermining the activity as a way to sort of like safeguard ourselves from future self-sabotage.
Totally.
So if we are going to the gym, we're turning up and we're doing something that's good for ourselves, But then our friends are like, hey, you went to the gym 3 times a day, this week, look at you. And our instinct is sort of like protect and be like, oh no, it's just it's just a phase. I'm just giving it a go. I'm just seeing how it is. I'm probably not going to continue with it, because we're protecting ourselves from having to say next week if we dropped off or not. But actually saying, yeah, I've had a really good week, and talking about what you've done and letting yourself acknowledge the improvements and changes in behavior does make it more likely that you'll continue with that behavior moving forward.
And really celebrating those small wins as you go. I find I encourage clients to do that a lot. Like, okay, sure, XYZ wasn't perfect this week, but look at what you did do. Like, let's take a moment and really feel the joy and the pride that's associated with that, and let that fuel you next week.
And that's one of the most important things I think you can do as a coach, is hear the evidence that's been left out by your client. Now, I had somebody say to me, I missed 2 morning sessions in the last fortnight. And, what was being left unsaid there is like, I'm not a morning person. I'm not going to get up and do this. But rather than me sort of like saying, yes, you are, or, oh, don't worry, it'll get easier, I just said, how many mornings did you make in the last 2 months? And they were like, 10. And I'm like, so, there's evidence there as well that you're disregarding. So it's important that we don't just pay attention to when the plan is falling down, but as you said, focus on all the wins that we've normalized.
Yep. Evidence that you might be becoming a morning person.
There you go.
Okay. He also spoke about this idea of a physical activity ecosystem, which I think is incredibly powerful. And I want us to go through kind of an exercise of helping people build that out. So he categorized it in these 4 ways. The first one is community and people. And to clarify with this is like the person that calls you when you don't show up to the 5 a.m. class that you usually do, or your coach that's holding you accountable, the people on your soccer team, and the community aspect around it. Then you have the support system, which might be someone that doesn't ever go to the gym with you, but highly encourages you, whether it's your partner, your family that shows up at the marathon to cheer you on at the finish line. Like, that's the people that have really got your back on this. And then the third is your environment. So it might be the run club itself, or the gym that you attend, or the dance studio that you go take classes at. And then the systems and tools that you use to execute well. So it might be your wearables, Whoop Band, your Apple Watch, the Strava app, something like that. But it also might just be your exercise program. Like, that is a thing that's going to hold you accountable and get you going in the right direction. Your calendar or your task management system to make sure that you're able to do this. So I think if this is something, if you're struggling with motivation and you're struggling with consistency, if you just get out a sheet of paper and write in the middle, physical activity ecosystem, and then build out those 4 buckets and sort of see what you have in place, and you might have some aha moments around what you don't have in place to support you to move forward.
Yeah, and I'm sort of drifting back to actually something we spoke about with Shona around the values audit, because how you design your accountability or your ecosystem, I think, should be closely attuned to your values.
Yes.
So, conversation with a client, he's talking about how it's not uncommon for when work to get busy for his fitness stuff to start to drop off.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is just how it always is with me. Things get busy and I stop turning up. I just said to him, are you like this in all areas of your life? And he's like, actually, no, at work. I'm like, if I'm going to do something, I get it done. And I was like, oh, what's that value? And he's like, what's the difference? And he's like, well, there's people relying on me at work. So you can see how our values are normally attuned to not wanting to let somebody else down.
Controlled motivation.
Yeah, and we can leverage that. If we see ourselves as someone who is loyal or supportive or doesn't let people down, then that's actually an integrated behavior that's going to manifest as turning up to our local football team's training or turning up to our class with our friend that we said that we would go and do. So you can leverage that as well. If you see yourself as someone that, you know, does what they say they're going to do, then having the program laid out, having the boxes to tick, that's, you know, that's important as well. I actually think that's a really interesting one, because I was actually listening to something this morning about this idea of change blindness.
Tell me more.
So it's habituation, in the sense that when there's no new stimulus, when there's no novel stimulus, we tend to sort of get used to whatever we see. And because the pace of change, you know, with a person can be quite slow and quite gradual, we become a little bit blind to this change. And it's so important to track our progress and have, you know, measurable outcomes, so that when we reflect, we can see that we turned up X amount of times. We, you know, improved our form. You know, we got to a lower squat, or we lifted a slightly heavier weight, or we ran a slightly further distance.
Yes.
You know, the ability to look back on that is important, because it's very difficult for us to see, you know, day by day. We become almost numb to it. Yeah.
It's so hard. It's like if you've been losing weight and someone hasn't seen you in a few months, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, you're a different person. And you're kind of like, really?
You get that little kick of motivation.
Yeah,
because they recognized it, but, you know, you didn't day by day.
Yeah. The other piece to this that I think is really important is, like, on that same sheet of paper, also create a list of what's not supporting you. Like, what's the ecosystem that is working against your goals? And, you know, it's not like, okay, eliminate all of those immediately, but slowly over time, can you replace some of them? Maybe it's a friend that gives you a lot of slack for, you know, not being the friend that goes out 2 nights every single weekend with them anymore. Or maybe it's the stash of junk food that you keep in your cabinet just in case, but you keep going back to it again and again. Like, can we make these micro changes to get rid of some of the things that are actually working against us?
I think you'll always have more success controlling your environment than you will necessarily just hinging on your own self-control.
Yes.
You know, willpower is difficult. It's regulated a lot by our emotions.
Yeah.
Typically, the less happy we are, the greater the desire to make ourselves happy in the moment is going to be. And controlling the environment so that things are not an option, or things are more likely to happen, is a powerful way to avoid having to rely on willpower alone.
Very true. All right. Cool. I think that's going to be great. People, get out your sheet of paper, create your little ecosystem, build it, and remove some of the scaffolding that is working against you.
Awesome.